Welcome back, everybody. This is Mike Prokopeak. I'm editor-in-chief at Workforce Magazine. Pleasure to have you join us for our Workforce live stream. So thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm excited to have as my guest for our first segment of this afternoon, Jamie Jarman, who is Director of Product for BetterUp, which is underwriting and sponsoring this live stream. So Jamie, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So let's kind of go back to what is BetterUp, because you were just mentioning to me off camera that you are employee number 6.
Yes.
And the company hasn't been around that long, so kind
Right.
of tell us a little bit about what is BetterUp and kind of where did the journey start and where are you headed?
Yeah, absolutely. So BetterUp, our large vision is to help improve the human condition through technology. So it's a very bold vision, it's very aspirational, but we believe that someone needs to own that and help deliver that to the world. We achieve that through our mission of helping people live their lives with greater clarity, purpose, and passion. And the way we do that today is through providing professional coaching to individuals through a mobile technology platform. So that's in a snapshot where we're going, why it matters to us, and what we're bringing to the world.
So how did you get involved? So you mean employee number 6, you've been there kind of from the beginning.
Yeah. So I had spent several years in the product space, actually in the solar industry, really wanting to do better for the world in some way, and had a bit of a pivotal life moment where I realized that empathy, compassion, and human connection was really what was going to help fuel my progress as a human. And so found BetterUp in its infancy again as the 6th employee. There was a little more than a product and a couple of customers. And I feel very lucky to have been able to go from kind of one pivotal product to now this robust solution that we're able to offer to customers today.
Okay. What does a director of product do? Is it a little bit of everything?
It's a little bit of everything. So starting as the first employee, I built the team. So scaling from myself to a team of designers, product managers, researchers. So it may not be obvious, but the product that we deliver is really rooted in the science of behavior change. So we actually have behavioral scientists on our product teams. So as other companies might have UX researchers, we actually have behavioral scientists who help give us guidance about how to design things that are really rooted in evidence-based modalities.
Yeah,
so.
And you guys have some great advisors. I was just kind of looking at it as we were preparing for this. I mean, Marty Seligman, when you talk about psychology, positive psychology, truly is the father of that movement.
Yeah.
And then Adam Grant, who seems to be everywhere. I would really love to understand how Adam Grant is able to do everything he does, because he writes, he teaches, he works with you guys, and he's sort of a man who's everywhere. But you've got a great group of advisors who are grounded in that science, which it seems like is really your differentiator.
Yeah, it's huge. And it's not just our science board, but the impact that they have in how we develop our product experience. So we're constantly structuring research with them, actually with our labs team. Gabriella, our Chief Innovation Officer, leads that group. And we're constantly trying to go further than the behavioral science that exists today and incorporate it immediately into the product. So some of the research we published recently was on meaning and purpose. So having that greater sense of authenticity in yourself and how it helps you perform better as a leader and a manager. And also in creativity, which is some of our new work that'll be coming out in the next probably 12 months, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about that science piece of it, because I've heard a couple things this morning as we've been here at Unleash about psychological safety, and having worked with a couple of the folks from BetterUp, I've heard them talk quite a bit about safety's role. And so can you kind of give me an underpinning here of why is it so important that safety be sort of there in order to be effective as an employee, and that this is really HR's job to sort of create this situation?
Yeah. Well, I'll actually offer a response which is two sides of the coin. The first is in the way that we develop our product experience is rooted in creating that confidential, safe space, that secure relationship with an unbiased, credentialed third party. So the coaches we have on our platform really instill that trust with every individual, so that every conversation people have, they know that their best interest is really top of mind. But then when it extends past the individual to their team and to their organization, a lot of the research has shown that without that psychological safety, people don't feel willing to express ideas and to offer those insights which may allow you to be more creative and innovative as a company. They'll shut down, diverse perspectives because they don't feel safe in that space. So it's absolutely foundational to companies meeting their overall goals. And it's something that we take very seriously, even in the way that we approach developing our product.
Yeah. So let's talk about product, because we're talking about psychological safety. We're talking about being a coaching platform, a technology platform for coaching. If I take the skeptic's point of view, technology, at least in the way we have used it to now, has not been, it has brought us together, but it has just as much, feels like it pulls people apart. So how can technology be used to create that psychological safety, and how can you take coaching, which is very, in its practice, really been done sort of person to person, very high touch, and use technology to facilitate that? Doesn't it take us away from that human interaction?
Yeah. So one of the most critical components of what we offer to organizations is the ability to scale. So quite often people want a solution that meets people where they're at, that's highly personalized, that allows for that creativity and innovation. But having a person sitting next to another person in a room indefinitely is hard to scale, especially when you're operating at the 100 to 500 to even a million person company. It's very challenging to do. So we view technology as a way to augment the experience, and we support with tooling for our coaches that give them additional insights and attributes about the individual they're working with, so that they can more quickly meet them where they're at. Rather than even having a piece of paper in front of you as a coach in a traditional sense, you have an entire printout about the, kind of the psychological DNA of that individual, so that you can really quickly get into those deep trust-based conversations and help people work through those challenging problems they're dealing with.
So is the platform, or is the coaching done through the platform, do you see it being envisioned across the enterprise? Because typically coaching has been a leadership type development activity. How do you see that playing? Is it for leaders to sort of enhance and further that relationship and scale that relationship? Or do you see it being something that is used much more widely by the broader employees?
Yeah, so we see impact at scale. So by scale we mean as many employees which touch your customers, which improve your bottom line, which innovate from the front lines. And so typically when we partner with companies, we're looking at pretty large percentages of a population. Research has shown that in order to have kind of systemic change, whether it be cultural or digital transformation, you need to target at least 25% of an employee population. So that's kind of a rough guideline that we provide to organizations, and quite often that means a lot of frontline and middle management, those that have traditionally not gotten a lot of investment, right? To your point, the executive or C-suite have gotten a lot of that professional coaching, high touch before, and with the BetterUp solution, we're able to scale it much further into the organization.
So you're able to solve that problem of, the functional expert who gets promoted to manager, but yet doesn't have those managerial or coaching skills that they need to now lead a team.
Exactly.
So that's always been sort of the fundamental challenge for those positions, and so this could be a way to help.
Yeah, and as companies are growing more faster, people have less time to acculturate into the management and leadership mindset. And so our coaches do a really wonderful job of helping people identify what it means for them to lead and manage authentically. So not just by a prescriptive playbook, but what it means for you or for me might be very different. But really for us to bring our whole selves to work and to manage that way, that's the way that the coaches help guide and give support.
So talk to me about the coaches. So, you're talking about being able to scale. So one of the problems or the potential challenges is how do you scale it from a technology standpoint? But you're talking about a human person that's behind that technology platform. So who are the coaches, and how do you take them and help them scale so that you can effectively use the platform in the way it's supposed to be used?
Yeah, so our coaches come from a variety of backgrounds, either from a licensed therapy background with some augmented coaching experience, or from an ICF or PCC certified coaching credential standpoint. All of our coaches have thousands of hours of previous coaching experience, and in fact, all are also required to have their own private practice. So they are already working as a coach professionally. We, on top of that, have a 5-step certification and credentialing process ourselves. So we make sure that all of our coaches are trained in these key mindsets and behaviors that help individuals become really effective leaders, and they're able to coach to that at the individual level. So we like to think of those additional support systems as helping augment, again, their previous experience, which is usually quite deep. But yeah, that's part of how we scale our coaching network.
So let's talk a little bit, have there been surprises? So you've been on this journey from the beginning as you built BetterUp sort of from the product side point of view. Have there been surprises as far as the way you've developed that maybe have turned into something that you didn't expect when you started building this product? Or are there things that have sort of been happy accidents here?
Yeah.
Excuse me, folks.
Sorry about that.
It's live TV, this is what happens right now. Yeah.
That was not, anyways. Yeah, so what have been the surprises? I think, when we started BetterUp, we thought a lot about creating that human connection, and there was a lot of time that we spent kind of soul searching as an organization, identifying, would we always have a human focus? Would we augment with AI, ML? How would that whole world work together, right? Like, leveraging the right technology the right way is really critical. So I think one of the big aha moments that we had was identifying that human connection is critical, and it's something that we commit to scaling as we grow the company and product.
Yeah. So what's next?
What is next?
I mean, as you talked about sort of some of the research, the work you're doing around creativity. Do you have a sort of a product roadmap or things that you're looking forward to rolling out over time? What's sort of the future for BetterUp?
Yeah. So one of the products I'm most excited to bring to market probably over the next 6 to 9 months is many companies we work with are always wondering, where do I start, right? Like, I understand the value of BetterUp, I believe in helping my employees, but like, where do I begin, right? I have 100,000 employees, where do I begin? And so we're designing an algorithm to help identify amongst those 100,000 employees, where do you actually target individual coaching? And it might mean 4 months, 6 months, 12 months of coaching, or it might mean something slightly different. Maybe a specialist support, a 360 debrief, mentorship type support. So being able to leverage technology to create these extremely personalized prescriptive paths for individuals. Right now, we have a bit of a one-size-fits-all, although the coaches do a wonderful job of personalizing the experience for individuals, but we hope to learn from what they're doing and adapt that to a technology platform to help us expand to meet the needs of our customers, to get to that 100 or 200, 500,000 person footprint.
Yeah, that's exciting. I mean, it's definitely an exciting product. I think it's a unique use of technology for coaching. As I mentioned, there's been a lot of skepticism about technology's application towards coaching because it's always been seen as a very high touch thing where it's a person-to-person interaction to build that trust you mentioned. But I think, do you think as younger generations are coming into the workforce that it's just more natural for them to be able to make natural connections this way versus maybe folks who have been in the workforce or on the older side are obviously a little bit more skeptical about it? Do you find a little bit more natural tendency for people who have grown up digital to connect in this way?
So I'm actually really happy to say, speaking of surprises, one of the initial hypotheses of BetterUp when we started it was that it would just be for millennials. To your point, there's this perception that technology-enabled humans would be the only ones to be able to connect via video chat. That is not the case. In fact, we've supported use cases all the way through to supporting people into a retirement transition, and they've had as much, if not even more significant behavioral gains as the younger generation. So, we believe that we should create technology that gets out of the way. It should be extremely simple and easy to use, and using those principles, we found almost everyone's able to use it.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, how many grandmas are on Facebook? Just about everybody's grandma is on Facebook. Yeah. So it's not as if technology is a foreign thing. There might be a little bit of a more of a longer ramp-up time to it, but everybody is able to benefit from these things. So, well, Jamie, I definitely appreciate you being here today. Thank you for underwriting and sponsoring and helping us to make this live stream happen. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the show.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.